We are here in Atlanta with Rick DeMedeiros, who is a personal injury attorney and workers' comp specialist, runs a small law firm in Alpharetta. He doesn't look like a lawyer.
Thanks.
The picture on his website shows this traditional lawyer that's in a suit, but we have the real Rick here.
The real deal, Rick.
What do people need to know about Rick?
So there's lots of lawyers out there. There's lots of people that are marketing, trying to get clients. I'd say the number one thing is that we really do care about service. I think I said earlier that we try to be more servicey, which I know is not really a word, but we're really in a service business, and it's about providing a product and hopefully a good result at the end. And sometimes you can't really have an impact or really be able to guarantee a result in the legal field, but if you can at least during that process, you do have control over the process and the service you provide. That's to me the important thing in what we do.
And we're here at DigiMarCon in Atlanta, and Rick and I were just on stage looking at his digital presence and showing why Rick and his small law firm is the choice for blue-collar workers that get injured in Alpharetta, Georgia. Tell us, what did we look at? What did we discover? What kinds of aha moments were there?
Well, I think the number one aha moment for me was sitting next to you while you were doing that prompt live, and how specific you were, how much of a plan, obviously you've done this quite a bit, in terms of wanting to get a good result, you have to have a really great prompt. That was my number one aha moment where I was like, man, this guy knows what he's doing.
And it looks easy, doesn't it?
It does. It looks incredibly easy, which I know it's not. It's not. But
the thing is, he and I were eating this steak with green sauce here at the Westin, which is
Chef's kiss.
amazing. I don't even know what the green sauce was. And while we're eating, we were talking to our agent, just like another coworker, a really smart assistant, and saying, this is everything we know about Rick. This is what our goal is. Here are modules on how we like to do the work, but instead of telling it in a micromanagement way, we told it what the big goal was.
And very informally, as if you're talking to another person.
We literally spoke to it. We didn't type at it.
No. All the ands and ahs and just, you just spoke, and like we're talking right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was crazy.
And what did you think of the output?
It was amazing. While you were working, I was working here. It was working the whole time, guided by your prompts, and the detail it gave us, the format which you told it to give it, a nice presentation, diagrams, graphics. It wasn't just a bunch of text where you just have to just dig through it.
Yeah.
The output was just awesome. It was awesome.
And so I think what makes it awesome is that, because I like the token max. Like if the thing comes back in 2 minutes, it's like, you didn't work very hard.
Something happened there.
But we got the thing to work for maybe 45 minutes, and it was just working. I was checking it, and it made a plan, and we could see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We was going through the plan, research everything about him, look at the $20 million case, look at how he has experience on the insurance side, which makes him more effective on the workers' comp side, because then he's playing the paperwork game, fighting the insurance companies on behalf of these guys who are injured and all stuff, and just figure out, look at his social media, look at the competitors, figure out what exactly we need to do on the website, what content's missing, what are the trust marks he has that he's not leveraging, how do we tune the ads, the whole thing, which we have done many times before for many other attorneys or service firms where service is important, where all the roofers look the same, all the attorneys look the same as far as a consumer, right? A blue-collar consumer, maybe they don't speak English, as far as they can tell, which lawyer do I pick, right? How do we stand out to them?
Who can I trust?
Yeah. And so when he has the trust of a lot of Spanish-speaking clients, for example, then other folks who speak Spanish and they type ChatGPT in Spanish and ask for help, ChatGPT can see Rick has worked with all these other Spanish-speaking folks, and there's clear, specific stories, so ChatGPT can make that recommendation, or Claude, or Grok, or Gemini, or whoever it is. And watching it work through all of that, which maybe burned a few dollars of tokens, so that's the labor fee that we pay. And Rick said, it looked easy, we're eating while it's working, we're checking in on other things. In the same way that he can say, it looks easy because you can see this masterful output being done, his clients, or people like me, can look at Rick and say, the way you handled the whole process with the insurance company, and I'm sure there's all kinds of hoops and things to navigate, but when you have someone who's a pro that knows what they're doing, They just make it look easy because they've done it many times.
And I describe it as you're navigating a ship. You don't
Yeah.
always have control over the winds and how they're going. You have control over the sails. But as long as your client knows that there's a plan and you want to get there, the finish line, you may have to make a few turns or course correct, but there's a plan and there's a strategy to do that. And all the while providing good service, being responsive, being kind and empathetic and listening. Sometimes it's just about listening, really, honestly. That's the main thing.
Isn't it crazy? There's all the skill, but the soft side of listening and caring and set expectations. And for example, on behalf of Rick, Ethan and I and the other folks are fighting Google to try to get him to show up when people go into Google Maps, or, hey, I need an attorney, right? I got in a car accident, or whatever it might be. And just like you said, you can't control the wind. Same thing here. We can't control the AI. We can't control what LinkedIn and YouTube and Google Ads, what they do. But what we can do is demonstrate and pretty much guarantee that we're going to put in our best effort and we're going to diligently work towards the thing. And there's a whole process. Someone gets injured, they're not going to get the settlement check tomorrow.
Right.
And so if as long as we can see where we are in the process, helping everyone understand what has to happen, because when you work with a client, there's things that you do, there's things you need from them, there's some coordination that has to happen to eventually change the sails or adjust course, right, using your analogy. And what I find interesting, because we're here at a digital marketing conference, is that people are using AI to chat and generate documents. And we generated a document.
Right.
Arguably, I think our documents are better because our documents are designed for action. Our documents, so that agent already updated our project management system, Basecamp, with a list of all the different things. It already created a bunch of tasks, which then other people have to follow up on the things that need to happen.
And designed for human eyes, where there's no good in a document that no one's going to want to read because it just looks so dense. And it was laid out very visually appealing. Someone would be like, okay, this looks good, I can go through it, versus, I don't want to go look at that.
Yeah. It's crazy how even just simple formatting things like Rick mentioned, like green is good and red is bad, right? Oh, we looked at your site.
Anyone
these
can get
things are
that.
good and these things are bad. Okay, that makes sense.
Right. And there's always, and from day one, there's going to be curveballs. There's curveballs in a case with an injured client. There's curveballs with Google and Facebook. We've had some with Facebook.
Yeah.
And I've met with Ethan and Daniel, and we fix those, and it's a team process. And I like being involved because it's obviously like my business, but it's great being in a collaborative space where, like, okay, here's the problem, let's attack it, and let's fix it.
Yeah. And then the transparency to publish exactly how we do it, so people know that like the stuff that we're doing or like the stuff that you're doing is not like a magic secret one thing that we do, the secret document we have, or the secret phrase we say to the insurance companies. And like driving leads, for example, is really just, it's a boring, mundane process with lots and lots and lots of little steps along the way to eventually get to the point where things are working, and then we can chill out and get the maintenance mode. But we have to get to that point before we can then say, okay, now we're maintaining.
Well, and really the only secret might be just experience, just having done it, failed, tried it again, failed. I know that's been the case for me, so you get to where you are by failing and succeeding, you know, and experience is what gets you there.
I think, Rick, you and I have an interesting parallel because I started my career as a search engine engineer. And so therefore, I think I'm more credible than most people when it comes to like search engine ads and search engine optimization, because I worked on the other side the same way you worked on the insurance side, and now you're on the other side as the attorney. What kinds of insights do you have from being on the other side and now playing both sides?
So that's a good question. In fact, I had lunch with a colleague not too long ago, and we discussed just that, is that we see certain attorneys that have only represented injured workers, injured people, which is fine. But when you have experience on both sides, you can gauge and your gut can tell you whether what opposing counsel that's representing the insurance company is saying passes the sniff test or not. Or you may know, well, I think what's really happening here is an issue with the adjuster. And someone who's maybe just represented injured workers doesn't have that experience of being in those rooms with those insurance adjusters, having those conversations about exposure, where you can sniff, and that experience helps you, like, okay, I think the real issue here is not what this attorney's telling me, it's really this other issue, this bigger issue with their claims adjuster. And that helps me say, okay, we need to switch tactics here and go this route, because that experience it's invaluable.
So I'm sure your clients, let's say they're Spanish speaking, they got injured, they're in the Atlanta area, they want to know what are you doing to maximize the settlement that I get from the insurance company and to get me my settlement as fast as possible?
So a lot of it is, again, a lot of people in the Hispanic community, some may be documented, some might not. And there's trepidation. There's a lot of people that are afraid to even bring a claim because they're afraid, can I bring one? Is it legal for me to bring one? Will I get in trouble? Will I get deported? So there's a lot of, right or wrong, there's a lot of discussions, and a lot of people are afraid to step forward. And so them just contacting you is a big deal sometimes because they're afraid. They're afraid, look, I got hurt, I didn't want to say anything, I kept working, but it just got worse, and now I'm afraid I'm going to get fired. What happens there?
Yeah.
So these are all questions that we see day in and day out. And my job is to protect them, even more protection, because sometimes these people can be exploited both before they were injured and then afterwards, using sometimes their immigration status against them. So my job is to say, look, in Georgia, that does not affect your ability to bring a claim against the insurance company. You were working, you were injured. There's duties that the insurance company and the employer have to provide you with medical care, to provide you with income benefit checks if you can't work. And so a lot of it is just education and saying, look, you should not be afraid because the law can't protect you in these instances. I'm here to be your advocate. And so a lot of it is just being almost like a therapist saying, look, here's the legal part, but also I know you're worried about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. And
here's things we can do to protect you and, again, navigate that ship. So at the end, nothing's going to ever compensate you fully for what happened to you. But you can get out of the system, the workers' comp system in Georgia, with some tax-free money in your pocket, turn this page and move on, go to work somewhere else, and you've hopefully had the best medical treatment possible. So you may not be 100%, but you're as good as you're going to get, and move on and switch to a different chapter in your life, and hopefully this doesn't happen again.
So if I'm an undocumented worker in Atlanta, that doesn't disqualify me or get me in trouble?
No. The thing in Georgia's an at-will employment state, so any person can get fired for almost any reason. Granted, if people suspect that you may be undocumented, it may put you at a bigger risk of getting fired, but I always tell people this. If you may get fired anyway, you're much better off having an attorney there on day one or day two protecting you versus 6 months later you get fired, oh, now I want an attorney. Well, sometimes it could be too late. And so time really is of the essence, and if you're worried about losing your job or paying for your medical treatment, you got to contact an attorney. It doesn't have to be me, but you need someone on your side because guess what? These insurance companies and these businesses, they've got a team of lawyers on their side. So you need someone on your side to help protect you and your interests, your body, your treatment, your wages.
But I don't think I can afford an attorney. Do you only win when I win?
So that's the thing. You don't owe me, you don't pay me any money out of your pocket. The only time I get paid is if I get you a settlement at the end of the case. In Georgia, it's capped at 25%. So if it's a workers' comp case, whether you hire me or some other workers' comp attorney, the max is 25% of a settlement. And what the money you get is tax-free, by the way. Uncle Sam can't take it. But no, you don't pay me anything out of your pocket. I get paid basically from the insurance company funds that are paying you your settlement.
So what kinds of things might most people not understand about what it's like working with the insurance company to try to get the maximum policy limits or the maximum amount of money from the insurance company for that injury?
Well, first of all, never accept the first offer. That's number one, because whatever they're offering you, that's probably like just peanuts in terms of what they actually owe you. And I tell people, and back when I did insurance defense, there were times where someone came and wanted to resolve their case. They had no attorney. They were pro se, so they had no representation. And so sometimes it would be a Hispanic person that came in, and I was generally the only attorney that spoke Spanish in the defense firm. So I'd have to talk to this person, have this person across the table from me. I basically knew they were getting screwed. Whatever they were being offered, let's just say it's $25,000. I knew their case was worth probably, let's say, $100,000. And so at that point, I represented insurance companies. Right? I didn't represent that person. So my allegiance legally was to the insurance company and the employer. So I had to basically deal with this person and make sure that they understood what they were signing, right? And that it was fair in terms of like they weren't being cheated. But there's so much that they didn't realize. If they just had an attorney representing them, they would have done so much better. But of course, at that point, I represented insurance companies. I felt kind of dirty about it, right?
Yeah.
And so after 5 years of representing insurance companies, I said, I'm done. Never again.
Isn't that an incredible story where It just feels weird. You're trying to get people who got injured to sign for as little as possible. They have to agree and they understand, like, okay, this is what I'm going to get, but maybe they're in a difficult situation and they need the money, or they don't realize what they really should be getting for that.
And I was there basically to help translate or interpret what the document said, make sure they understood it, because they have to understand it, right? And so even though they understood what they were signing and it was legal, right, was it fair?
But they're not educated. They don't
know.
And 99.9% of us have no idea.
Right.
Because we haven't been through that situation and we're not adjusters.
Right.
We don't know what the law is. Is there like some kind of table that says, like, if you have this, you lose like one finger, or you lose a whole, like, here's how much that's worth based on?
You can look it up, what your body is worth, at least in Georgia, right? So you can look up, an arm is 225 weeks of benefit, same thing for a leg. Your whole body's worth 300 weeks of benefit. So if your rate is, let's say, $250 a week, multiply that out, you can calculate how much you're worth, basically, which is a sad statement in and of itself.
That's weird that the government is like valuing what your pinky's worth versus what your brain is worth.
And the crazy thing that in workers' comp in Georgia, there's no pain and suffering. So if you have a different claim, like a negligence claim where you leave your house and you get hit by a truck, that kind of claim you can get lost wages, your bills, and pain and suffering. Workers' comp, you get 0 for pain and suffering. That's the biggest injustice, is that, have you had pain? Of course. Have you had suffering? Yes. Do you get paid for that? Nada.
What if I'm an Uber driver?
So if you're an Uber driver, so for workers' comp, basically most of these cases, they're independent contractors. And so you can't, there'd be no claim there for workers' comp. And so that's something we come across a lot, is that, hey, I was injured, I was working, well, you're not technically an employee. So to recover workers' comp benefits, you have to be an employee. Independent contractors are not eligible for workers' comp benefits.
What are some interesting things in what you do day to day?
The interesting thing is that a lot of the cases are very similar, but there's the little differences, right? In terms of something, a story I like to tell a lot is surveillance, right? Surveillance is a big deal where, and most of the surveillance we see is not like the stuff you see on the news, like this person was like out there claiming that they are paralyzed and they're out doing backyard wrestling or whatever.
Yeah.
It's very just, the person was at Publix and they were lifting up some bag, or they shouldn't have been lifting, whatever. But I once had a case where this client of mine was caught on surveillance, and the insurance company was just so sure, like, we got your guy on surveillance, we're going to file a fraud case against him and all this stuff because he was getting benefits. I presented to my client, I'm like, oh man, like this, really? I thought this guy was really hurt. And if my client is lying to me, I'm the first person that wants to know, because I want to say goodbye, right? Yeah. And my client saw the video, he was like, well, that's not me. I was like, what do you mean it's not you? It looks just like you. He's like, that's my brother. I have a twin. So the old evil twin, right? And it turned out this was the guy. We brought him to a meeting and we said, here's the brother. And then that their case basically went because they thought they got us and they didn't. So the old evil twin on the video.
That's wild.
Yeah.
But if this client didn't have you, would it have gone so smoothly?
No, not at all. Not at all.
So they wouldn't know how to navigate the whole legal system and whatnot.
No, the insurance company has a lot of power. That's just the way it is. And if someone doesn't have an attorney on their side, they're just going to get squashed like a bug.
What do people need to know about the insurance company that a lawyer can, like you, knows how to navigate?
Basically what you're entitled to and what you're not, because they're not going to tell you. When a claims adjuster contacts you and wants to do a recorded statement, number one, don't do it. Number two, it's not their duty to, they're not representing you, right? So it's not their duty to tell you, well, you're entitled to be paid for mileage. They're not entitled to tell you what the max compensation rate is in Georgia. It's just not their job, right? And so the number one thing is you don't know what you don't know. In order to find out what that is, you need to contact a professional, a lawyer who practices in your state, who knows the laws and says, hey, here's the stuff that you know, right? And here's the stuff that you don't know. And sometimes that list is very long, right? And so a lot of it is education, listening, but also educating the client, and in terms of like, okay, now we're on the same page, here's the way forward. And sometimes it's like being a therapist sometimes.
Rick, what do you think about people who are pro se, meaning like they're using ChatGPT to be their lawyer?
So every now and then I'll have a client say, well, I Googled this, and I say, just hold on 1 second. Does Google have a law degree? So I have a law degree. I've actually been, but even more important than that, I've practiced for X number of years, now it's 22 years. And so I appreciate that you are curious about the laws and about your case, but you can't rely on ChatGPT or Google for this thing, right? Because some of what they might say is right, but a lot of it might be wrong, or might not be in your specific situation, the case, right? So I tell people, like, look, if you want to look certain things up, great, but if you want real help, an actual person to listen to your specific facts of your case, how the law applies, you need to talk to an actual attorney.
So we all have used ChatGPT to ask it questions about stuff to learn, because it's always a lot of fun, and usually it gives the right information, but we all know sometimes it gives the wrong information, but even more than that, which is called like a hallucination, but even more than that, ChatGPT is only going to answer the question you asked. And if there's other, like if a trained attorney with 22 years of experience can say, oh, but what about this and what about that, and ask you other questions, that might materially change what the response would be. And the ChatGPT is not going to ask you, oh, but here's some other questions I would ask you before I can give you a good answer.
I've had clients come to me with a workers' comp case, right? And then I've listened to what they've said, and I've said, you do realize you have two cases, right? And they're like, what are you talking about? Well, you have a workers' comp case, right, against your employer, but what happened to you was caused by a third party. So you also have a separate personal injury case. And I've had cases where the person had no clue, right? They wouldn't have known to ask ChatGPT that. Do I have any other cases, right? And so I've had cases where the workers' comp case that they came for me for settled for, let's say, $100,000, right? And the separate PI case that they had no idea about until they came to me and I told them, settled for like 3 times that. Right? And so they wouldn't have known that unless they went to an attorney. The attorney listened to them, wrote down all the information, and said, okay, here's the plan for your workers' comp case, but also you have this whole other case you didn't even know about, right? And so sometimes, like you said, it's not about the question you ask, because you may not be asking the right question or all the right questions to get to what you need, or what would benefit you the most.
A lot of folks, I imagine, they get injured. And if you're like me, it's like, I don't want to go to the doctor. That's expensive. I don't have money. Does that factor into how much money I can receive getting treatment?
So a lot of people say, I'm okay, I'm fine. And number one, if you're not feeling fine, don't say fine to your doctor. Is going to write it down and it's going to say it in the medical records. All right, so if you are not feeling fine, or you're like, I don't know, I guess I'm okay, go to the doctor anyway. Get checked out. And hopefully you're not. Hopefully you're okay and it's nothing big. But so many people say, I told my employer I was fine, or I didn't want to go in the ambulance or go to the hospital. And then 3 days later, which we've heard, it's probably happened to you, you get in an accident and you're like fine, the adrenaline's
at the
pumping.
moment,
And then 2 days later, you wake up like, what? I feel like I got hit by a truck. Well, you did, like 2 days ago. And you said you were fine 2 days ago. So if you have any doubt, just go get checked out. If you get injured at work, your employer has to pay for that clinic visit. Get checked out. Anything with the spine especially, get an MRI, because that's going to show a lot on there. Better to get checked out, and hopefully there's nothing there, but if something's there, then you want to get it addressed and treated.
This is so interesting what you're saying, Rick. I forgot the next question I was going to ask.
I just dazzled you with my answers.
It's like watching TV, and I forgot I'm supposed to ask you questions. So,
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So, and I think I might have touched on this earlier, is in terms of AI and where we're going, what are things that we don't, again, like asking what we don't know, the blind spots. What are the blind spots right now in terms of AI? People thinking we're going this way, but Dennis says, well, watch out for this. What are the blind spots we have right now?
Well, like any technology, lazy people become lazier. And people who want to get stuff done get more stuff done. AI is just a multiplier. And what people don't know is that when, like a large language model, it talks to you as if it understands. It actually has zero understanding, because all it is a probabilistic word calculator. It's predicting the next word that has the highest probability, and it simulates understanding. There's no actual concept or thinking, but it's so realistic in mimicking conversation that you think it knows what you're saying, right?
It lulls you into thinking that it understands you.
When you understand that it's really a probabilistic next word generator calculator, then you realize when you ask it, hey, here's a question, it's going to give you the average of all the things that other people have said on the internet from whatever body of information it digests, which is the internet. So, right, ChatGPT, Claude, has tried to download everything on the internet, watched every YouTube and TikTok and all kinds of stuff on the internet. And when you say, how should I do this? Or what about this thing? It's going to give you the average, which includes, it has no idea of truth, of what is right or wrong. It has no ethics. It's not evil, it's not good, it's just a next word, what word is most probabilistically next likely to be said in that situation. If you understand that that is true, then, and you say, what should I do? Because a lot of people use it as a counselor, as a therapist, then it's going to probabilistically give you what other, if 1,000 people were to give you advice in that situation, it would take the average, because it's probabilistic, the average of what everyone else would say in that situation, which if you want the average of the internet, you're going to get a lot of trash. Now, if you have certain values, if there are certain things that are important to you, then you need to tell it that. If you have a very particular point of view on something, you need to tell it that, otherwise it's just going to continue. And so a lot of the internet prior to ChatGPT and all this was, it concentrated extremes. It creates what's called a filter bubble. So people who have one particular interest, they can find other people who have that interest. It's an interest aggregator, so everyone feels like they're okay because it finds other people who really like to do that one thing or care about that one topic. So that the internet was like this, and that's what created the growth of the internet. But with ChatGPT, because it's actually averaging out, it's causing a narrowing effect at the same time. And this creates this interesting dichotomy, because you have this, the successful people, the wealthy people, I hate to say, are actually getting wealthier. And the people who are poor in finances, poor in resources, poor in communication skills, poor in knowledge, are actually getting poorer, because they don't have, they're just getting the average of all these other things down here. So it's creating this dichotomy, because there's basically two kinds of uses of these LLMs. And I'm very fortunate that we are able to use it to multiply good people. We just gave a speech here at DigiMarCon talking about how we can use AI agents, not to chat, but to do things, but to multiply what we have. So imagine, Rick, we have this box here, and whatever you put in it, you're going to get 10 times more out of it. So I can put this pen, I'll get 10 more of these Weston pens out of it. I put a $100 bill, I'll get 10 times more. That's what comes out of the box. That's what technology is. The magic box has just gotten fancier, but it's still the same magic box as a multiplier. So I would ask you, like, what would you put in that box? Well, you have all kinds of good things you want to put in that box. You have great experience, great stories. We want to multiply that. Well, what about somebody who doesn't really have any direction in their life? They're an 18-year-old, they're working at some fast food job, and they have nothing to put in the box except, I like to play video games. Well, the AI will just give you more video games to play. So it's, the unfortunate part is that people blame the box. I blame, what's the input into the box?
Well, just that prompt I heard you say earlier, it made me think, there's obviously classes on AI. Are there going to be classes on just the prompts that you should be giving?
There are a lot of people trying to do that, and I think it's all bogus, because even to say the word prompt is already misdefining the question. Because a prompt assumes abracadabra. What's the magic phrase I can say to unlock the door that has the gold chest behind it? It's not the prompt. There are people, like when ChatGPT came out, what is it, like in the winter of 2022, something like that. Or I was there in GPT-1 before ChatGPT even came out. I had the API. There were people, internet marketers, get-rich-quick people, that were selling like the prompt package. Here's 100 prompts for $99. We'll give you the list of all the prompts, and now you can be an AI expert
what could go
with
wrong?
This list of 99 prompts. I'm sorry, it's not the prompt. It's your ability to think and reason and communicate. The most important thing are the soft skills. The fact that you care so much, Rick, when you're talking to a customer, to a client, and about their situation, you're evaluating, you have the intelligence and the experience to give them good feedback, like a Rick GPT. Is that a prompt? Are you prompting them and they're prompting you? When you
no, because if you think about it that way, then you've already lost.
Exactly. So to say prompt is to already misdefine what we're trying to do.
If you're having to think to yourself, how do I relate to this person? Well, you're not going to. You're not a robot, right?
A prompt assumes like some mechanical machine talking to another machine. What I think of it is this empathetic connection that's backed by understanding and experience, which is what any service company that's worth their weight is going to do.
Yeah.
And so when I'm giving directions to a worker, two things. A, I am giving it this context and understanding and direction of where I'm trying to go. There is a clear, I'm injecting motive into what I'm saying that's backed by experience. And number two, I'm not talking to it like a tool, like I'm opening up Microsoft Excel and doing something in a spreadsheet. No, I'm talking to it like another human, which is weird. But, and this, you can validate this, but anyone else who has actually gotten results out of AI, they will tell you, I treat it like a human. I say please and thank you. I use full sentences. I make sure, like a new employee, I onboard it, I give it access. The first time it does a task, I'm giving it feedback, it's learning, it's getting better every time. Its memory is improving, learning how we like to do stuff, so next time it doesn't make that same mistake. So the humanity component is why today we were saying your ability to manage other people, humans, extends into managing other agents. Once you understand what agents really do.
Well, and you have to really care about it, right? Because people, again, human to human, people can smell if you're not really genuine or like you're just wanting to rushing out of the office or not listening to them. So that human to human factor is still going to be important, right? And it's just what I provide is a service, right? And just at the very base level, like how can I be more servicey? Again, I know servicey is not really a word, but like, you know, you kind of look at it, how can I provide better service to my clients? I can't guarantee a result, but if in that process I can be more servicey and provide a good service, no matter what the end result will be, but hopefully it'll be good. That's what people look for. And again, people come back to me, it's like, hey, I had a really good experience with you. The end result was what it was great or it was okay or whatever, but the process, when I came to you, Rick, I was hurting both physically and financially. And by the time I got my case resolved, I was in a much better place, right? And so that's what I look at in terms of being able to provide good service and that empathetic service to a client. But again, that seeing you do it in real time and telling the agent what to do, how to do it, it was very detailed, and it was just, you were just talking to it. Again, you're not saying period, you're just talking to it as a person and being very specific. It was awesome.
Imagine that, when you actually give clear instructions to your worker.
I know.
And then you can't blame the worker if you can't give clear directions, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And us spending time together and empathetically understanding, empathy is carrying more beyond your little circle of what's going on. That's why we're meeting. That's why we're not AI generating these conversations. Even though AI can create deep fakes that are so good that you can have Donald Trump doing whatever kind of stuff and it's realistic looking. But ironically, the backlash to the AI is that people care about the human connection. And if you got injured, that's a very personal thing. And now you're not making money and you're in pain and all these other things or problems that are piling up. You want to talk to someone who actually cares. And you may or may not be able to tell whether Rick, you wouldn't have enough legal knowledge to quiz him on understanding workers' comp law in the state of Georgia. But what you can tell is I can see other people who have been in my situation. I can see his track record. I can read the Google reviews. I can ask ChatGPT about him. And if there's enough real signal that whether you go to Facebook or ChatGPT or whatever, all of those engines or networks are basically judges. They're proxies of, is there enough raw underlying signal that Claude can recommend that, Rick, his firm, it's small, but he has a track record and he has experience of helping you with that hand injury you got at the factory.
Right. That's probably the greatest source of pride, is that my clients are not companies, they're not corporations, they're just regular people. Something bad happened to them, and I'm just trying to come in and help them out and make it as stress-free as possible. It may not be completely stress-free, but you want to come in and help them out. And that's the greatest thing, is at the end of a case, like, oh my God, I was about to be evicted, you prevented that, or my car was going to get repossessed, and now I can move on with my life. And that's the greatest thing, is that you're representing real, down-to-earth people that just want to get better.
What is it, Rick, that drives you? What gets you up in the morning?
Number one is my family, And number two is I love what I do. And touching on what I just said, it's really about people, right? So when people come to the office, there's a problem, right? And so I can come in and try to problem solve. I've been through this before, so like whatever they're going to ask, I've probably answered the question before.
Yeah.
But again, you don't want to be like, oh, I'm going to have to answer.
Yeah.
You can't be like that because this may be their first rodeo.
Yeah.
Just because you've handled a lot of these cases, you need to provide.
They're not another number.
They're not another number, and like their question, even though you've heard it probably 1,000 times, it's a valid question for them, and they don't know the answer to it. So you need to just be calm, not be in a rush. And again, we're human. It's hard.
Yeah.
You may be thinking about some issue you have to deal with, or you got to get on a conference call with a judge in half an hour. And no one's perfect, right? I'm not perfect. And it's in terms of just trying to be better today than you were tomorrow, even if it's just a little bit. And that's really what drives me, is just providing that service and just being just very zealous about providing the best service possible. And I think from there is where success will come.
I think, Rick, even though technically you're a workers' comp attorney, you're like a master chef or a Steph Curry with the three-pointer. When you see people that are not just technically adept and the best in their game, but they have that kind of level of care, and it's like self-reinforcing. The level of care you have causes you to be good in your craft and continue to practice this for 22 years, where it never gets old because you love seeing these new stories. It's like your favorite song, you'll play it over and over again because you enjoy it so much.
And I think there is an advantage, or there's a gap there, because I'm a lawyer. Do lawyers have the best reputations? No. And so sometimes when there's a low bar in terms of like maybe people have had bad experiences with lawyers in the past, I had a case one time, my lawyer would never return my phone calls, I never talked to my lawyer, or what have you. There's an opportunity there. And so coming in and saying, hey, I don't know what happened in your prior case, but I'm different, and you don't have to trust me. I'm going to show you, and then by the end of this case, you'll hopefully see that what I told you that first consultation was right, that I'm not going to treat you like a number. I'm going to be responsive, because it's such a low bar in terms of what my industry is, in terms of lawyers, that I hear it day in and day out. Oh, I had a bad experience with this lawyer, or like just lawyers in general are awful. And so that excites me, because it's like, great, I have room, there's an opportunity there to show them that we're not all bad. So that's what drives me.
What are some other things people might not know about you, Rick?
I am a bit of a sneakerhead. I've just gotten into sneakers since COVID. So something that people probably don't know is that at night when I'm decompressing, the girls are in bed, my wife's in bed, I've got my snoring French bulldog next to me as I'm just probably looking at YouTube videos about sneakers and that thing.
What's your favorite sneaker?
The sneaker that I have, probably the Undefeated 4s. They're an awesome shoe. So people that may know about sneakers may be like, oh yeah, I know that. So they just were re-released recently, and so I was able to get those. The Brick by Bricks, I don't have the Nigel Sylvester's. It's like an all red shoe. If you go on like StockX, like a reselling website's like $800 right now, which I'm not going to pay for that. But it's stuff like that. Again, you're busy, I'm busy, we have busy lives, but you need to have sort of that decompression and just look up silly things on YouTube and allow yourself to do that, because I think sometimes we take ourselves way too seriously.
What are some other fun things that you look at on YouTube or social media?
Oh man, most nights I probably fall asleep on the couch with YouTube playing. I wake up and it's like, what am I watching? It just keeps auto playing. A lot of sneaker stuff, a lot of movies, reviews, and I would watch a lot of car videos as well. I like cars as well. So we don't have like traditional like cable at the house. It's just basically like Disney Plus and Netflix. And so right now I'm watching a show called Widow's Bay, which is pretty good. It's like a scary show. But yeah, when I'm not with the girls or working, I'm basically watching YouTube or just decompressing at night. What about you?
I just want to be around the most interesting people. And those interesting people help me know about things that I don't know that I don't know.
Right.
And that then causes me, so my YouTube consumption is reactive. So yesterday I was in Detroit, and two of my friends are pro dunkers, and one has the highest vertical leap in the world, and he was telling me about a product that he made, which is like this pole that goes up to like 13 feet and how you can touch the top of it and whatnot. And like, what is this pole and what is that program and what is so? I'm a naturally curious mind, I can tell you are. So whenever I learn something new that's interesting, I'll then go to YouTube, I'll go to Claude, and then that opens up this whole other world of things that I explore. And that's how I end up having like 50 tabs open.
When it keeps you, I think it keeps you young and engaged, right? I think people that get old quicker are the ones that are not curious. They're just like, nah, whatever. But like, I think it's good to be curious about stuff. It keeps you engaged, and those connections, those human connections are so important.
Yeah, and for me, I'm blessed because every day I get to hang out with new people, learn about new fields, draw interesting connections. So Warren Buffett spends 6 hours a day learning, even at 90-something years old.
Never
He's
stops.
Still learning.
Yeah, it never stops.
And people say like, oh, you can't learn languages anymore once you're in your 20s. No, it's because they stop learning. As long as you continue learning, it's like muscles. If you keep working out, you can still be strong as you get older.
Yeah, yeah, that's something I've gotten into as well as working out. I've got a trainer now in the past couple years, and so I didn't really care about it that much, but now like you just working out, you feel better, and I've been running as well. So I think for a long time I neglected that aspect of it. And it's like these
Health
gym
as
rats,
well.
it's important. Especially I'm 48, I turned 49.
I'm 51.
Yeah,
and I've learned all about peptides, and I have more energy than most 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
I'm not taking testosterone.
Right.
I'm not taking these other things, but I've learned about, for example, like what are the benefits of curcumin, and how does that affect inflammation?
Yeah.
And the 400 some peptides that are now available, and how does that relate to medicine that is custom tuned for your DNA, where you can get your body scanned. It used to cost $20 million to scan your genome. No, now it's like a couple $100, and like I'm a freak when I can read your blood report and tell you what it means. I have interviewed the top doctors in the world in every area of functional medicine and longevity, like the billionaires who want to live forever. I've interviewed those doctors, and we text one another, and I learned so much about the human body. For example, it's just starting to come out. Dr. David DiGimarCon has shown that aging is a disease. By definition, a disease can be stopped and even reversed.
See, and I've thought that. Like, I think there will be a day, maybe not in the next 25, 50 years, but I think there'll be a day where they'll figure out, okay, here's the thing that we can turn off and basically turn off aging.
That actually there's some research coming out next month from some of the longevity labs that are funded by DiGimarCon and the X Prizes, where they have found that so inside a cell is like a whole city of different things that happen. Mitochondria and the different Golgi complexes in the cell membrane. And they found that, for example, that the length of the telomeres is what determines aging. They've been able to reverse that in mice to have them live forever.
That's amazing.
And now it's moving into trials into the humans. And in China, they've done some things that we can't do in the United States related to stem cells and exosomes and whatnot. And according to the people who know, and I saw the guy who runs Neuralink for Elon Musk, and he says he's doing Jesus-like things because the blind are able to see and the people can walk, and people even who've never been able to see are now able to see, and this is actually happening, right?
Yeah.
But we are at the point, it's 2026 now, but if you can stay alive for another 6 years, you will be able to live forever. And it's not it's not that you're living forever, it's the quality of life, right? It's not how many years of life, it's how to fully live and be aware and be productive and have energy. Like, it's not that you're just going to have 20 more years of like your brain in a jar.
Right. Or being bedridden for 20 years.
Yeah. Yay! But 20 more years of health.
Right.
What would that mean? What would you do with that time? How does that affect your purpose?
Well, I was going to say, like, we start then blending into philosophy, right?
Yeah.
Because let's assume that there comes a day, even if it's soon, like, okay, we can now live forever. Would you want to? Would it be good for the world, right? So that then you can say, well, I want to switch it back on, right? And so then one solution and then all these other questions and possibilities, right? It's crazy.
People who say like, well, I don't want to live forever because then life is not as valuable and be boring singing hymns in church and in heaven or something like that over and over again. I'll run out of things to do. That is so short-sighted, because once you realize the things that actually give you joy are when you help other people, like you've discovered joy in that, then there's no limit to that.
Right.
You want to create value. You want to see other people win. Maybe you have kids and you live vicariously through them. Once you realize that, then you want to continue to see people win. And that's what I think creates this immortality. Not immortality because you live through your kids and they pass on and remember who you are. Like, no, but immortality because you're able to bring, like, you've heard that it's better to give than receive, and like all of those things are true. And if you're fortunate enough to get to the point where you don't have to worry, it's like Maslow's hierarchy. You don't have to worry about food and shelter for yourself, but now you are trying to help other people. It completely reorients what your life's mission has become.
Yep.
Once you've taken care of your own stuff, right?
Right, and then you can then focus outward, not inward or your immediate yourself or your family, but then outward, and that stuff spreads. You spread that empathy and kindness and what have you, and then those people then it's like anything else. It's like there's two paths, right? There's good or bad, right?
And I view it as there's always the next puzzle to solve.
Yeah.
You're solving jigsaw puzzles, whatever the kind of challenges, mazes that you like to do, right? Beating the video game and the final boss at the last level. What is that challenge? And the thing is, you would think like, well, at a certain point there will be like no more challenges because it's all exhausted. That's actually not true, because with the more things that are opened up, like us going to Mars or us extending life, like every time one more thing is opened up, 10 more things it's a fractal. It's actually creating more challenges and more opportunity and more things to learn and more skill. So it's ironic because in 10 years from now there will be more things that we can do, even though paradoxically there's going to be more abundance.
Well, and every year, science, technology, medicine, more things are being known, more things are being studied, and problems being solved. But imagine all the questions we don't even know to ask, right?
Yeah.
We don't even have enough information or knowledge yet to even know what those questions are to ask. And to me, that's fascinating.
We're going to the moon in a couple of years.
Yeah.
We're going to be in Mars within 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
This billionaire guy paid SpaceX for a flyby of Mars, right? And I didn't realize, but the new Elon Musk rocket has the power of takeoff of 70 747s, those Raptor 3 engines.
That's crazy.
The most powerful the most powerful energy release of any man-made object except for the nuclear bomb.
That's crazy. May you live in interesting times, right?
And so I'm just excited because the final act, the fourth quarter of this thing is about to start. And all of us here who are fortunate enough to be healthy and alive are going to see the most, and this is the best time to be alive.
Yeah, I agree.
Not 10 years ago, not 10 years from now, but today.
Right, I agree.
And we want to make the most of that time and hang out with interesting people, create the most impact. And for people who are not as fortunate, our job is to bring them along.
Yeah, for sure. Could not agree more.
Amen. Well, thank you, Rick. So good to hang out with you. See
same
you
here.
in person
It's been a pleasure.
instead of a Zoom call
I know,
or
right?
Basecamp.
You're real. You're not AI.
People say, oh, we cut Dennis's skin. You'll see underneath it's like steel because the guy doesn't sleep. But figure out what does this mean for you? Let us know in the comments. What kinds of, like I listen to a ton of podcasts and I play them I stop them because they'll say something and I'm like, oh, I need to think about that. Well, how does that affect my worldview? What action do I'm not just going to sit there and listen. No, that's people I know. They're always thinking about how does this other thought fit into their existing worldview. So I want to know how has your worldview changed? What action are you going to take? What are you inspired to do today, right now?
Yeah, and be curious and follow your beliefs, follow your interests, and don't ever let anyone tell you like, that's stupid. That's important. Follow your passions.
Yeah. Anytime someone tells you should, you always have to say who is saying that. Right. You should do that, or you should by who?
For whose benefit?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Always question that and never limit yourself, because now the tools and the technology are available. Elon Musk said this 2 weeks ago. We're soon at the point where anything you can name it, you can have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So let us know below in the comments.
Yeah.
What would you like to have happen? You have a magic wand, you have the genie thing, you can rub it and get the 3 wishes. What would you like to have happen? What can Rick and I do to maybe help you? Maybe we can introduce you to somebody. Maybe there's a lot of people are too scared to even think about what it is that they would ask for, and that's why they're not abundant. That's why they're not successful, because they can't even define what that happiness or success or thing looks like.
Yeah, and let us know, because I reached out to you not too long ago and you responded pretty quick, which I was amazed. So I'm available online, you're available, so we love talking to people and again, solving issues and making connections. So
Yeah.
definitely let us know.
Amen. Appreciate your time. You made it to the end of the video. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next episode.